The
Get in the
handcuffs
car
snapped
right
shut before
now!
Marcus Hale could even
I
finish his
didn't do
sentence.
anything!
Officer,
Let go
I
of
didn't
me!
touch
No,
her.
stop.
Listen to me.
Don't take them.
Sir, turn around, the taller officer repeated, voice flat, already guiding Marcus toward the front door of his own house. Across the living room, Lila stood wrapped in a blanket, tears streaking her face. Her lower lip
You
trembled as she
ruined
pointed at him with a shaking
everything! I
hand.
can't
He
believe
pushed
you
me, she
lied!
whispered. He lost control.
I didn't
Marcus
do
stared at her
anything.
like she just spoke in a
Please
foreign
listen
language.
to me.
Lila, what are you saying? Neither officer answered him. One of them read him his rights while the other tightened the cuffs another notch. Outside, neighbors were already watching. Phones were already recording. And Marcus's 9-year reputation collapsed in under 60 seconds. Nar, I didn't do anything, he said again as they guided him down the steps. Lila, tell them the truth. She didn't look at him. The squad car door slammed. And just like that, everything he had built began to disappear. 3 hours earlier, Marcus had been reviewing blueprints at the kitchen table. Buildworks Contracting had just landed its biggest project yet, a municipal renovation contract worth more than anything he'd ever signed before. 11 employees depended on him. 2 apprentices had just started that month. He'd planned to celebrate that night. Instead, Lila had walked in holding her phone. We need to talk, she said quietly. Marcus looked up. About what? About how late you've been coming home. That's work. You know that. You're always working. That's how businesses grow. Her voice tightened. Or maybe that's how marriages fall apart. Marcus leaned back slowly. Where is this coming from? She hesitated. Then she said something strange. I just don't feel safe anymore. Marcus blinked. Safe from what? You. The word landed like a stone. Lila, that doesn't even make sense. She stepped closer. You get angry. I get stressed. That's different. You slammed the cabinet yesterday because the hinge broke. You raised your voice. I was frustrated. You scared me. Marcus stood up now, confusion turning sharp. I have never laid a hand on you. She looked at him with watery eyes. I know. Then she walked toward the bedroom. He thought the argument was over. 20 minutes later, the police arrived, and now he sat in the back of a patrol car, staring at his own front porch, shrinking behind him. He whispered to himself, barely audible. This is a mistake. But mistakes don't usually involve formal reports, photographs, and a signed witness statement. At the station, the officer removed the cuffs but didn't remove the tone. You'll stay here tonight, he said. Marcus swallowed. Can I call my wife? The officer looked at him strangely. She already gave her statement. Marcus shook his head. No, I mean to clear this up. That's not how this works. Marcus sat down slowly. For the first time that night, fear settled in properly. Not confusion, not frustration, fear. By morning, the news had already started spreading. One of Marcus's employees, Tyler, called him from outside the holding area phone line. Hey, our boss, what's going on? Marcus pressed the receiver tighter. Nothing. It's a misunderstanding. They're saying you got arrested. It's temporary. They're saying it was domestic violence. Marcus closed his eyes. Tyler, listen to me. I didn't touch her. I believe you, Tyler said immediately, but his voice carried hesitation, and Marcus heard it. That hesitation hurt more than the handcuffs. When Marcus finally appeared before the judge later that afternoon, the temporary protective order came quickly. You are not permitted to return to the residence, the judge said calmly. Marcus leaned forward. That's my house. You are not permitted to contact your spouse. That's my wife. You are not permitted within 200 yards. That's my life. The gavel tapped once, and everything changed. By the end of the week, 3 clients paused their contracts. By the second week, 1 canceled. By the third week, the city project quietly reassigned itself to another contractor. Marcus learned that part from Tyler again. Boss, Mercer Development picked it up. Marcus froze. Say that again. Mercer Development. Marcus lowered the phone slowly. Evan Mercer, his biggest competitor, his most aggressive rival, the same man who had tried to outbid him twice in the past year. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. That's convenient, he whispered. What do you mean? Tyler asked. Nothing. But Marcus already knew something wasn't right, and deep down a question had begun forming. Why now? Why this moment? Why this contract? That night in the small apartment, his brother let him borrow temporarily. Nana Marcus stared at the ceiling and replayed the argument again and again. Her words, her expression, her hesitation, her sentence. I just don't feel safe anymore. It didn't sound like fear. It sounded rehearsed. The next morning, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should stop fighting this. It's already decided. Marcus stared at the screen. His heart started beating faster. He typed back immediately. Who is this? No reply. Just silence. Later that afternoon, Tyler called again. Boss, there's something else. What now? I wasn't sure if I should tell you. Tell me. I saw Lila yesterday. Marcus sat upright. Where? She was downtown. So? She wasn't alone. Marcus waited. She was with Evan Mercer. The room went completely quiet. Marcus's fingers tightened around the phone. Are you sure? Yes. Talking? No. Then what? Tyler hesitated. They looked comfortable. Marcus didn't speak, didn't move, didn't breathe. Comfortable. That word echoed louder than everything else. And for the first time since the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Marcus stopped thinking this was a misunderstanding and started realizing it might be something much worse. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He kept replaying Tyler's words over and over. She wasn't alone. She was with Evan Mercer. They looked comfortable. Comfortable. That word stayed with him longer than anything else. Not arguing, not upset, not surprised. Comfortable. The next morning, Marcus called Lila. The call went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Blocked. He stared at the phone in silence. Then he called Tyler. I need you to tell me exactly what you saw. Tyler didn't hesitate this time. They were outside Mercer Development's office. Marcus's jaw tightened. Outside? Yes. Talking? No. Then what? They walked out together. Marcus stood up slowly. And she got into his car. Marcus didn't respond. Didn't say anything for several seconds. Then he asked quietly, how long were they together? I don't know. Did they see you? No. Marcus exhaled slowly. Thank you. He hung up and stared at the wall. Something inside him shifted right then. Not panic, not fear, clarity. Later that afternoon, Marcus called the only person he trusted to look at things without emotion. Daniel Reyes. Daniel used to investigate insurance fraud cases before opening his own small private office downtown. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't expensive, but he didn't ignore details. Marcus met him that evening at a quiet diner near the interstate. Daniel slid into the booth and studied Marcus carefully. You look like someone who just got hit by a truck. I might have. Daniel waited. Marcus leaned forward. I think my wife lied to the police. Daniel didn't react. That's a serious accusation. I didn't touch her. Daniel still didn't respond. Marcus continued. And now she's spending time with my competitor. That got Daniel's attention. How much time? I don't know yet. Daniel folded his hands. Tell me everything. Marcus did. The argument, the arrest, the protective order, the canceled contracts, the city project disappearing, Evan Mercer suddenly stepping in, Tyler's sighting, the anonymous message. Daniel listened without interrupting once. When Marcus finished, Daniel leaned back slowly. Something's wrong. Marcus nodded. I know. Daniel tapped the table once. I want her phone records. Marcus blinked. Phone records? If this is coordinated, they didn't start talking last week. Marcus stared at him. You think they planned this? Daniel shrugged slightly. I think successful businesses don't collapse by accident. 2 days later, Daniel called again. Marcus, you need to sit down. Marcus was already sitting. What did you find? Daniel didn't soften it. She's been in contact with Evan Mercer for 6 months. Marcus's chest tightened. 6 months? Yes. How often? Regularly. Marcus rubbed his face slowly. Calls? Yes. Messages? Yes. Meetings? Likely. Marcus whispered. Why? Daniel answered honestly. I don't know yet. but Marcus already suspected. The next blow came faster than expected. 3 weeks later, prosecutors added new charges. Marcus read the document twice before he understood it. Felony domestic assault, violation of protective order, witness intimidation. His hands started shaking. "I didn't even speak to her," he told his lawyer. "They're claiming indirect contact." "What does that mean?" "They're saying someone passed a message through an employee." "That never happened," his lawyer sighed. "I believe you, but belief doesn't stop charges." Marcus leaned back slowly. "How bad is this?" His lawyer didn't sugarcoat it. "If they win, you could go away for years." Marcus stared at the ceiling. Years. The word echoed louder than the courtroom had. Yet later that evening, Daniel called again. "I found something else." Marcus answered immediately. "What?" "Mercer Development started bidding on your contracts 2 months before the arrest." Marcus sat upright. 2 months? Yes. That makes no sense. It does if someone told him they were about to become available. Marcus felt cold. "You think she told him?" "I think someone did." The trial moved faster than Marcus expected. Testimony stacked up. Statements appeared. Photographs were presented. Neighbors claimed they heard shouting. A nurse testified she examined Lila's bruises. Marcus kept repeating the same sentence. "I didn't touch her." But repetition doesn't always beat paperwork. And paperwork was everywhere. The verdict came after only 4 hours of deliberation. Marcus stood frozen as the judge spoke. Guilty. The word hit harder than the handcuffs had months earlier. Lila didn't look at him. Evan Mercer didn't come to court. But his company signed Marcus's last remaining contract 2 days later. Marcus learned that part from Tyler again. "Boss, they took the Ridgeway job too." Marcus swallowed hard. "Of course they did." The sentence came quietly. Too quietly. That night, Marcus sat alone in a holding cell, waiting for transfer. He stared at the concrete floor for a long time. Then he whispered something he hadn't said since the arrest. This wasn't random. 2 weeks later, Marcus arrived at state correctional intake. 3 years. That was the sentence. 3 years for something he didn't do. The first night inside, another inmate asked him the same question everyone asked. "And what are you in for?" Marcus hesitated, then answered honestly, "My wife said I heard her." The man studied him carefully. "And did you?" Marcus shook his head. "No." The man nodded once. "Then somebody outside is lying." Marcus leaned back against the wall. "I know." What he didn't know yet was that the lie was already starting to crack, and when it did, everything waiting for him outside those prison walls was about to change in ways no one expected. Marcus stopped counting the days after the first year. At the beginning, he tracked everything. Court dates that never came, appeals that moved slowly, letters that arrived late, promises that didn't change anything. But after 12 months inside, something shifts in a person. Hope becomes quieter, routine becomes louder, and survival becomes simple. Wake up. Ye work detail, meals, lights out, repeat. Still, Marcus never stopped telling the truth. Every time someone asked him the same question, "What are you in for?" he answered the same way. "My wife said I heard her." And every time someone followed with, "Did you?" he answered the same way again. No. Most people stopped asking after that because the way he said it never changed. No anger, no excuses, just certainty. Then one afternoon during his second year inside, his name was called unexpectedly. "Hale! Phone!" Marcus walked slowly toward the call station. Only 2 people ever called him, his brother or Daniel. When he picked up the receiver, he already knew which one it was. Daniel didn't waste time. "I found something." Marcus straightened immediately. "But it what?" "The nurse who examined Lila." Marcus held the receiver tighter. "What about her?" "She changed hospitals 6 months after your trial." "So?" "She filed a correction report." Marcus froze. "A correction?" "Yes." "What kind?" Daniel paused. "The bruising she documented didn't match defensive injury patterns." Marcus didn't breathe. "What does that mean?" "It means they weren't consistent with what she testified to in court." Marcus whispered. "So she knew." "She knows now." Marcus sat down slowly on the metal stool. Can that help me? Yes. For real? Yes. That was the first real crack. The second came 3 months later. Daniel called again. I got access to archived traffic cameras near Mercer Development. Marcus blinked. When and? They showed Lila entering his office building the morning before the arrest. Marcus stared at the wall. The morning before? Yes. How long was she there? 42 minutes. Marcus whispered. So they met? Yes. Before she called police? Yes. Marcus leaned forward. That proves something. It proves timing. And timing proves planning. Daniel didn't argue, because he agreed. The third crack came from somewhere Marcus never expected. Tyler, his former employee. The same one who made the first phone call after the arrest. 2.5 years into Marcus's sentence, Tyler contacted Daniel directly. Daniel told Marcus about the conversation during their next call. He finally said something he should have said earlier. Marcus swallowed. A what? He overheard Mercer talking about your arrest the day before it happened. Marcus's voice dropped. The day before? Yes. Marcus stood up inside the phone booth area. That's impossible. It shouldn't have been possible, but it was. Marcus pressed his forehead against the cool wall beside the phone. That means he knew. Yes. That means they planned it. Yes. For the first time in nearly 3 years, Marcus felt something return that he hadn't allowed himself to feel. Momentum. Daniel moved quickly after that. The correction report, the camera footage, the witness statement from Tyler, the phone record timeline, the meeting logs, the contract transfer dates. Individually, each piece raised questions. Together, they told a story, a very different story. 9 months later, Marcus stood inside another courtroom. But this time, he wasn't the only one being questioned. The prosecutor reviewed the correction report twice, then again, then asked the nurse directly, "Your original testimony suggested intentional force." She nodded slowly. Yes. And now, I cannot confirm that conclusion anymore. The courtroom shifted. Then came the camera footage timeline. Then Tyler's statement. Then the communication records. One by one, the certainty that convicted Marcus began falling apart. Finally, the judge spoke. The integrity of the original case has been compromised. Marcus closed his eyes. The sentence came seconds later. Conviction vacated. 3 words. 3 years late. But they changed everything. Marcus stepped outside the courthouse that afternoon, into sunlight he hadn't felt without permission in years. Daniel stood beside him. Tyler stood nearby too. Neither of them spoke at first. Marcus finally looked at them both. You didn't give up. Daniel smiled slightly. Neither did you. Marcus nodded once, then asked the question he'd been holding since the first phone call. What about Mercer? Daniel handed him a folded document. Marcus opened it slowly. Inside was a civil filing notice. Conspiracy. Fraudulent interference. Defamation. Marcus looked up slowly. You already filed this? Daniel nodded. Yesterday. Marcus laughed for the first time in years. Not loudly, not dramatically, just relief. 3 months later, Mercer Development lost 2 major municipal partnerships. 6 months later, so the investigation into contract interference became public. 9 months later, Lila requested a private settlement meeting. Marcus didn't attend. Instead, he sent one sentence through his attorney. I already lost 3 years. I'm not losing anything else. By the end of that year, BuildWorks Contracting reopened under a new structure. Not 11 employees, not yet, but 3 returned, then 5, then 7. One afternoon during the reopening week, Tyler walked into Marcus's office holding a clipboard. Feels like old times again? Marcus smiled. Better than old times. Tyler nodded. Yeah. Marcus looked around the office slowly. Same desk, different man, stronger man, calmer man. A man who now understood something most people never learn. Truth takes time, but it arrives, and when it does, everything changes. If Marcus's story surprised you, drop a comment below and tell me the moment you realized something wasn't right about the arrest. Stories like this remind people why truth matters, Make sure you subscribe and like the video so you don't miss the next real-life story that proves justice doesn't always come quickly. But it does come.